In the previous video, the protagonist was busy corrupting his classmate from Japan, who is now the princess of the kingdom that he is in. Even though she assumes that he must have been a bad person all along due to his seductive motives, his activities continue to change her mind into being a personal, loyal slave to him. Interesting, right? If you still haven't watched the first part, then make sure to check it out. Link will be in the description down below. Now, let's continue with the story. After indulging in a rather electric and weird body rub-down session with Polymura, just as she's about to unleash her ultimate attack, the protagonist can't help but observe that the experience with Himeno is in a league of its own. Something unattainable with a demon lacking certain, assets, if you know what I mean. Melons, guys. I'm talking about the melons. Anywho, as Himeno is caught up in a melodious moan, the protagonist slyly instructs Nina to work her magic. Nina, with her teleportation skills, pranks Himeno by splattering some liquid on her head, sending the demon noble into a fit of annoyance. Himeno's pride takes a beating and she's not thrilled about it, clearly stating her noble status, but as she continues to curse the protagonist, he's confident that sooner or later, his knack for controlling demons will work its magic. And sure enough, Himeno struggles against the enchantment, putting up a valiant fight until she finally collapses, completely drained. Nina, curious about the protagonist's plans, inquires about his intentions with Himeno. He casually mentions that he'll need to firmly instill some slavery magic to bring her under control, which delights Nina, reflecting Himeno as a powerful friend and an ally. However, Himeno, in her defiant and cunning stance, protests against being held down and subdued, claiming it's wrong to take advantage of someone defenseless. The protagonist, bemused by her thoughts, decided it might be time to head back to their hideout. Later on, Sierra wakes up in the protagonist's bed, stark naked. Much to her confusion, Amelia, excitedly pointing out Sierra's ample assets, bombards her with questions about the protagonist. Sierra, taken aback by finding Himeno there too, isn't eager to engage. But Amelia, however, insists that they should bond, considering they're both part of the protagonist's harem. Sierra attempts to make a swift exit, but Himeno grabs her, asserting she can't just leave. Meanwhile, Nina arrives with food for Sierra, knowing she must be famished after waking up. Sierra indulges in a feast, plates stacking up as she eats. Amelia nudges Himeno to start eating too, noting Sierra's slow pace. Nina busies herself in the kitchen, much to Amelia's blush-worthy moment when praised for her cooking skills. Meanwhile, the protagonist is having a field day, making Polymura squirm and moan with his antics. Despite her protests and threats, he skillfully manipulates the demonic aura, transferring the crust of obedience onto her. Exhausted, Polymura decides to surrender, promising unrestricted access whenever the protagonist desires. The protagonist, in a moment of whimsy, transports the whole gang to a beach-like setting and decks them out in rather eye-catching bikinis, much to Himeno's annoyance. While Nina takes on Amelia's high-maintenance demands, Sierra blissfully munches on food, unconcerned about the chaos and messiness around her. Himeno, feeling irritated that no one else seems bothered, finds herself the only one donning a school swimsuit. The protagonist amusingly admits it was his stroke of genius to dress her in that particular attire, much to her changing. The rest of the group, however, seems nonchalant, with Amelia arguing that a bit of sunlight is good for their skin. Nana and Polymura engage in a heated spat, inspiring Himeno to intervene before they engage in actual nose-biting. When the protagonist's attempt at an attack misses Himeno, he feels a tad disheartened. This forces her to accuse him of planning the beach trip for some courageous, dirty motives. But the protagonist hilariously reveals his true, albeit shallow, intentions: to ogle at his harem in swimsuits. He reassures them that they are there for fun and nothing else, playing the oblivious card as the group wanders about their unexpected beach escapade. Meanwhile, the princess is frantically trying to locate Himeno, dispatching her knights to find any trace of her since she disappeared from the palace. Her frustration mounts as there's no clue about Himeno's whereabouts. Determined, she's instructed her knight Celesta to prepare for a journey to the Tower of Revelations. Back at the beach, while the protagonist gets handsy and playfully slaps his companion's butts, much to Nana's pretend ignorance, he contemplates whom to target next. When Polymura becomes too vocal, he indulges in a bit of playful butt slapping, feeling it's within her character to rebel. That is what a man dreams of day and night. However, Polymura's discomfort grows, making Himeno squirm with disdain. The protagonist teases that she's up next, provoking a comically dramatic reaction from her. Just as tensions rise, Sierra intervenes, prompting both girls to kneel and offer a two-way melon treatment to please the protagonist. In a bizarre turn of events, Sierra suggests a melons competition between her and Himeno. Much to the latter's shock and astonishment, they engage in an absurdly intense contest, adding spicy, seductive elements, and ultimately, they end up drenching in liquid from the protagonist's antics. Exhausted, Himeno questions if they've had enough and starts motivating the protagonist to consider wrapping up their awkward play. Meanwhile, the princess, unaware of the chaos at the beach, presses forward toward the tower, determined to rescue Himeno before things start to get out of control. Soon enough, Nana starts accompanying Amelia, and they realize that the intel they have received is all correct. Nana, on the other hand, keeps insisting that he will have to quit using her like a horse in the first place. Amelia realizes that they have been approaching their zone, and he begins to use the arrow blessed by the power of the wind spirit, which can reach further distances than normal, and it ends up blasting away the carriage that was carrying the princess and her people. Soon enough, her people realize that they have already been ambushed, and the protagonist assumes that they have already begun charging in their direction, so they will have to get ready as soon as possible. Soon enough, Amelia gets attacked by the personal knights of the princess, and the girl instantly realizes that she must be the Slavemancer's underling, which is why they started attacking her. Then when Amelia asks the princess to remove the cloak of the princess, the whole army along with the knight realizes that the protagonist managed to take the princess away with him, which is why she has been replacing her the whole time. There is no way she will be letting her escape, so she's not about to go away that easily. On the other hand, the protagonist claims that he has already heard of the third devil from Polymura, whose name is Ivalis, and she is desiring the Devil Lord's relic, which is why she was targeting the Princess of Prophecy the whole time. At this time, Himeno prays for the Princess Sistina, knowing that the whole demon race has been chasing her the whole time, and hopes that she will be fine on her own. Also, the protagonist feels like no matter what, he cannot let someone use his prey, and Himeno gets mad hearing him call the princess like this, as she is not allowing anyone to disrespect the princess like this. Polymura keeps on hearing them bicker as she feels like they are rather carefree, as if they do not give a damn about the whole world. On the other hand, the battle gets intense between the slaves and the knights, and they have already realized that the female knight brought by the princess is rather great. Then when the whole ground bursts, the knight gets mad seeing that someone managed to steal the position of becoming the private guard of the princess in front of her nose, and she couldn't do anything even though she has been working for the position her whole life. While she is fighting in her mind, Sierra targets her by using her bow and arrow, and even though she has been thinking about defending herself up for a while, she manages to get taken down by them at the moment, which feels rather shameful for her. Then when Amelia picks her up, she notices that there's barely a scratch on her body, even though she's been fighting for a while, which explains that she has strong magic resistance. All of them feel like they have been upgraded by the protagonist by a lot after what happened on the beach, and they keep on praying for the protagonist knowing that he only has Himeno and Polymura with him, so they are the only ones who will be able to keep them safe for now. When they end up reaching the floor where Sistina is, they notice that the Hell Knight Gurum has managed to catch the princess, and the priest ends up releasing his final form as he has been gaining the trust of the royal family for over 10 years to achieve his final form. He remarks that he wasn't expecting to be interrupted after all his tries and claims. He will make sure that they all end up paying for ruining his ritual. Now the demon gets all big and scary, ready to tangle with the protagonist and Himeno, who's all about protecting the princess. Himeno, feeling like some sacred knight, figures she's got this, but when they hit the demon, it turns out his body's like Sierra's trapped armor thing called dislocated armor. He's all bragging about his master put this unbreakable armor on him, feeling invincible. Then he extends his arms out and they start to get really stretchy, and they realize things are about to get ugly. Quick thinking from the protagonist though, he scoops up everyone and gets them out of there. Then the demon's like, oh, looks like I got carried away, because he needs the tower intact for his plans with the princess. Next thing they know, the demon's zooming at them, and Himeno throws the protagonist away to save him. But she takes a bad hit and ends up in a wall, bleeding like crazy. She's out cold, and Polymura's like, seriously? What was she thinking? However, the protagonist is sure that she will pull through because she is tough. The protagonist then shouts at Polymura to grab the princess and bolt. But the demon's all up in their business, and Polymura is freaking out because she thinks the tower's gonna crumble. The demon's not thrilled about this because Polymura is messing up his boss's grand plan. Himeno's trying to stand up, focused on keeping the princess safe, and Himeno's lucky to be alive because of some protection spell. And Polymura is starting to get pretty frustrated because they can't even scratch the demon's armor. But when the princess wakes up, Himeno's there, making sure she's alright. They have a little reunion while Polymura is still duking it out with the demon's henchmen, and the princess sees Himeno's in a rough state but says she's got the squad to back her up. Mid-fight, the demon's aiming for the protagonist and the girls are all worried, not knowing what's going to happen because there's dust flying everywhere. Looks like that'll be it for today, guys, but don't you worry. We will be back with another story for another day for you all. If you guys are interested in seeing part 3, please let us know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, share, and definitely don't forget to subscribe to the channel, as it inspires us to create more content just like this for you. And as for now, we'll catch you later. See you in the next one.